Hey, it's Elena. Welcome to my crib. If you didn't guess from the thumbnail, we bought an RV.
This is our 2006 Sunline Solaris, which is new to us, found on Facebook Marketplace. Today we're going to tell you why we bought it, what we paid for it, and give you a full tour of the inside and outside. Our beautiful 2006 Sunline was really one of the better RVs back in the day when it was made. Sunline was a pretty good brand, and we bought it from a wonderful couple we found on Facebook Marketplace who was upgrading theirs about 2 hours away. This weighs about 5,000 pounds, so my little Nissan Frontier was not going to tow it. So shout out to my friend Zach for letting me borrow his truck. We went out there and picked it up. We saw one RV in person before this one, which we passed on. It had a good bit of water damage, which is a pretty common theme for these older RVs. This one's no different, and we'll show you that on the inside. But when we saw this one, it was very obvious. It was well taken care of through its whole life. It was really well maintained, clean. Everything worked, like air conditioning, fridge, all the lights, like everything worked great. So it was pretty obvious that this was a winner. It was in our price range and we bought it right there on the spot. Let's start with the front porch. This beautiful porch took a team of masons at least 2 days to build. We liked it so much we decided to copy it on the rest of the house. On this side, there's this huge awning that folds out. We have our little picnic area set up over here, and we've only had one cookout so far, but it's really nice having the awning because this is the south-facing side and it gets quite hot. Moving to the rear, beautiful American flag spare tire cover. And this is the good stuff, the actual hookup. So one of the reasons we got this is because we now have the capability to hook it up here and not have to deal with all of the tank refreshing, the fresh water, the gray water, the black water. So I was able to run a temporary circuit from our utility room to this little power box here. So it's a special little plug that's meant for RVs. It's 120 volt, 30 amps. And we have full dedicated power in here. Don't have to worry about batteries going dead or anything. This is our water. So we just got a hose bib just before we got this camper. We got our hose bibs in, and so we just have a hose running from the house to the water inlet here. So again, just have unlimited fresh flowing water, which is awesome. This is called the utility shower, which is just an outdoor, sort of rinsing mechanism here. And it's come in handy a few times already for rinsing out like pots and dirty dishes and stuff like that, washing the dog off. Oh, come on.
You gotta turn it at an angle.
There we go. There's a good bit of outdoor storage as well. This is the first of it. It's just sort of a shallow maintenance closet, little pegboard that someone mounted in there at some point, and it just has a few maintenance items, antifreeze, that kind of stuff. Down here is the outlet of the sewage system. So there's both black and gray water, black being the toilet water, gray being the shower and the sink. We just have the gray water draining out into the woods right now, and the black water collects in the tank. We now have a functioning septic system here, so we can dump it directly into the septic, and I'm working on that. I've actually had to dump it once already, and I've had to tow the RV over there with my skid steer, which was it's gonna be a video all on its own, I think. Heyo! Oh my God, does it smell. But I'm working on a little system quick to try to funnel all of the black and gray water into the septic system directly. That's what this leftover pipe is from our gutter project. And that will hopefully be set up here pretty soon, so I don't have to deal with dragging the RV over near the septic system to dump it into our tank. And this is the last bit of outdoor storage. This goes all the way through to the other side of the RV. This is the front of it. Just some septic stuff. We have the carpet cleaner in here. Our instant pot for cooking's on the other side of it, but there's a surprising amount of storage in this. They really did a good job of sort of optimizing every little nook and cranny they could when they designed it. Up front is our couple propane tanks in here. I think they're 30 pounds each, and then the electric jack for raising and lowering the hitch. This door goes into the bedroom, which we really don't use, and then this door is obviously the main one that goes into the kitchen dining area.
Before we head inside, I want you to take note of our really nice green carpet out here, which is actually some fake grass that we acquired from a turf grass company a couple of years ago, and it's been sitting in the barn since. But it's actually perfect for putting right outside the RV. It allows us to take off our shoes outside and go in without getting the RV all dirty. Let's check out the inside. Welcome to our new living quarters. This place has been a complete game changer for us. We were used to having to mobilize in the morning, come over to the property, bring all of our meals for the day, and it was such a process. Now that we have the RV, it is so much better. We can wake up first thing in the morning, get outside, and get working. So first, let's talk about our kitchen and dining space. We have this nice little dining table that has a leaf in it. So right now it has the extended leaf in it. We can pull this down and fold it down if we want to. We also have a nice little couch. This actually pulls out to a futon. So when we purchased it, we purchased a futon cover to go over top. This is to make it easier for us to clean and manage. And then behind me, we also had to make some room for our furry little friend, Georgie, which if you're not familiar, Georgie is our dog. So we now have a little house here for him. There was a chair that came with the RV. We got rid of that right away so that we could make space for the dog.
The chair hit Facebook Marketplace free section in about a day. Just to the right of the door on the inside, this was supposed to be like an entertainment center, but it's quickly become a coffee bar slash film equipment charging station, which has been great. There's actually a pretty sweet sound system in the camper. It works really well. I mean, it just gets radio right now, but it can take an aux cord, believe it or not, even back to 2006. So I've used that a couple times. It can play kind of all throughout, which is kind of nice. Let's talk about internet real quick. This is a little mobile hotspot, and actually we don't own this. We're renting it from the local library. We learned that the library rents these hotspots out with unlimited data for $10 a week.
So we first wanted to rent it so that we could try it out to see if it even worked in our area, since we are in a very rural area, and it works really well. So we're actually going to return it and purchase our own, but it was a good trial run. And if you're in a situation where you need to try internet, not sure if it works, check out your local library and see if they have something that you can use.
Yeah, we've uploaded YouTube videos and everything with it. Works great.
It's honestly faster than our internet that we've been using for 6 years. So
yeah.
Definitely a great option if you're looking for something in your area. Our cooking area in the RV is limited, but we have appliances, which is a game changer nonetheless. So we have a nice little gas stove here, which we use every morning to make eggs. We have an oven. We haven't used that yet. And then we also have this microwave, which is actually surprisingly...
That is seriously the most powerful microwave I think I've ever used.
Yes, this is the most powerful microwave I've ever used. It will cook oatmeal in like a minute, and it's so amazing. And then if we move over, this is our nice little sink. We bought one of these roll-out drying racks from Amazon. It's nice because it doesn't take up much space. We have some water from the well water at the other house, and then we have a compost bin, of course.
The water here is good, except it comes through that hose that's sitting out in the sun all day, and it's an older hose, so we try to avoid drinking it, but I drink it anyway.
He drinks it sometimes, but we try to keep the water stocked. And one thing about this RV that has just been amazing is the amount of storage. Like, if you just even look in this cabinet, you can see that there is so much storage here, which is really nice when you're living in a small space. So
it's
now,
surprising, actually.
Yeah,
Here,
really.
show the pantry.
Yeah, the big thing that's amazing is this pantry. So we have our pantry stocked full of snacks, real food. We have pasta sauce, pasta, crackers, peanut butter, everything. But this thing pulls all the way out. It's really heavy, so I don't want to break it. And then we have our freezer and fridge, which is pretty standard for any RV. It's the same size that you would see in most RVs.
But again, you can fit a lot more than you think in there. I mean, that's like 2 9x13 pans full of food, plus a big thing of lettuce, bins down low, door's full. You can't fit a full gallon jug in the door, but still a half gallon, and it's quite a bit. Here's our cute little RV trash can that just takes little mini grocery bags. Like I said, the AC and heat actually both work fantastic in here. It's a little bit loud, but overall it's worth having on some of these really hot summer days, especially because we're sitting in full sun in the middle of the day.
Now, mind you, we are completely new to the RV living world, and one thing that we didn't know is that when you open any type of drawer, you have to lift up and then pull out. And this is because whenever you're driving, obviously you don't want all of your drawers to be falling and spilling everything everywhere, but it's similar with the fridge as well. It actually clicks and locks, so when you open it, you have to push down this little lever and then open the door. So if you are thinking about getting an RV, those are just some small things that we learned in the process. Moving on into our small little bathroom. Now, you would be really surprised by some of these RV bathrooms that we saw on Facebook Marketplace. There were some where the toilets were literally directly in front of the shower, and we're like, okay, how is that? Why would you ever design an RV like that? How would you ever?
Or they were in the shower.
Or they were
and it's
in the
considered
shower.
a wet bath.
Yeah, just weird things. So when we started realizing that some of these RVs had weird bathroom situations, it became a priority for us to make sure we got one that had a normal layout. So we have our toilet, sink, and shower. The only issue we've had is that the shower has leaked a little bit, but Alex fixed that a couple days ago.
It's certainly not the most grand and largest shower of all time, but it certainly gets the job done. In the daytime, it has a skylight, and then of course there's a vent up in the top of the bathroom to let all of the steam out. Down in this corner is where it was leaking, so there was some attempt of a repair at some silicone down in the corner, but that had eventually failed, I guess. And so water was getting underneath this door, and you can see it kind of bubbled this out, and it soaked up in here a little bit. But that was a pretty easy fix. I used some Sashco sealant, some Lexel to seal up the shower, and it seems to have worked. Hasn't leaked since. RV toilets are a little bit different as well. I never had really used one before. It's a pedal flush design, and then it's got this little globe in the bottom that opens into the tank. And I didn't notice this until recently, but you can actually fill the bowl with water by lifting up on the pedal like this with one foot, because it does slowly leak out that little globe. So if you want water in the bowl, you lift that up, and then to flush it, of course, you push down on it, and there you go. It's just like an airplane toilet, honestly.
And the last room is the bedroom. There's not a ton to say about this, but it has been awesome living in a space where you wake up and there's just birds everywhere and you can hear them chirping. And that's one really great thing about this RV, is that there's a lot of natural light. So it's just very bright and inviting, and it feels very homey.
There's really more storage than we even need in here too. We have our clothes.
Don't put it, my underwear's right there.
We're keeping our clothes like up here. We just aren't really even utilizing it as much as we possibly could, to be honest, and it doesn't really even matter. And then check this out. There's actually under bed storage. Well, there's drawers down low, and then there's some middle storage in there just for extra comforters and stuff like that. That was a TV shelf, I guess, up there, but we have just turned it into a miscellaneous junk / phone charging station. Now let's talk about Mr. George's setup here. We have a little run line that we took from home and didn't have a real good way to anchor it in the middle of the yard, so rigged up some concrete blocks and stones there to anchor one end, anchored the other end to a tree way up there.
Big baby. The big baby boy. The big baby boy.
And for anyone wondering, yes, my 97 Honda Civic is still running with 255,000 miles on it. Look at that big fat guy. I mentioned water damage, so let's go over that real quick. You're not gonna find an RV in this price range, in this age, without it, because it just happens to all of them eventually. There's an impermeable surface on the exterior and one on the interior, and if any amount of water gets in there, then it will just rot the plywood out. The moisture can't escape, and it just rots it all out. So eventually, certain spots get soft, especially in the corners where the roof is most prone to leak. So this one is soft up in the roof a little bit here. You can see this DIY repair of this little curtain valance. This had fallen down at one point. So it's just kind of to be expected. Let's go over to the back. I'll show you another one. On the back corner here, I guess this is where the air conditioning drains off. So this back corner is pretty soft most of the way down. If I push over here, it's like pretty firm. But if I push down here, it's got quite a bit of give to it. So it just kind of is what it is with these old campers. Like, you can tear into them and try to fix them, but it becomes a huge project, and it's one that we really don't want to get into either. Like, this is not affecting how this operates at all, really. I'm not really worried about it. We're probably just going to sell it like it is, fully disclose what we know about it. That's what the seller did for us. You know, they let us know all the soft spots and we're cool with it. It's not really that big of a deal when it comes down to it. You know, it just kind of happens with these old campers. We are gonna try to seal up what we can with just some of the most obvious places that are leaking, like these window trims, for example. You know, they get old and cracked from the sun. So I'll go through here. I'll kind of take some of this old sealant out and redo that just to try to seal up the windows a little bit better. But honestly, the windows don't really leak notably when it rains. We leave them open when it rains. These awning styles just shed the water right off. But we will try to leave it in somewhat of a better condition than we found it when we go to sell it. All right, so now the juicy part. What did we pay for it? We paid $4,300 cash for this camper. New, these things can be, you know, outrageously expensive. This same style and size camper new probably would have been $30,000, something like that, $20,000 to $30,000. But being that it's, you know, it has some age to it, it's got a little bit of water damage, you can get a pretty good deal on these things. And so we were happy that it fell within our budget. Obviously, we're building a house debt-free, so we don't have a ton of extra cash to throw around, and this met the need and it was in good shape, so that's why we went for it.
Another thing to note is this is one of the best value RVs that we found on Facebook Marketplace. Once we had made the decision that we were going to go this route and look for an RV, we were on Facebook Marketplace every single day, and I kid you not, there are multiple new RVs being posted daily. And so we would take a look at things, and if there was something that was a good deal, it usually sold really, really quickly, like within hours. And this is one of those where we knew that it was going to sell really quickly. We looked at one RV in Maryland and then drove like 2.5 hours into PA to go and look at this RV because we had a feeling that it was going to be a really good deal, and it ended up being just that. Also, just a really cool, fun story is that the couple that we purchased the RV from was the sweetest couple. We ended up talking with them for like an additional hour after we decided to purchase it, and we're telling them about our house build and our story, and they were just like the sweetest couple. And by the end of it, we hugged each other goodbye, and I swear, like, we have like potential lifelong friends from it. I don't know. We invited them down here if they ever want to come over. So
I'm sure you guys are watching this on YouTube, so thank you very much for helping us out. And we really enjoyed speaking with you guys.
And getting to know you. So just a fun little story, and it just made it feel so meant to be. So like Alex said earlier, what really made this possible for us to have the RV on site was having all of our utilities ready to hook up. There are people out there who purchase RVs from the very beginning and manage to build their entire house while living in an RV, but we're glad that we kind of waited until we got to this point because it feels a lot more manageable. I think otherwise it would be a lot more of a stressful experience than what we have now.
Yeah, these are not very good in the winter, so they're really kind of a 3-season type of vehicle. They're not meant for living in the winter. The humidity of existing in a small enclosed space in a cold environment with very little insulation does not really do well for like indoor air quality and healthy living. So
yeah,
they're not really winter vehicles. I'm glad we got it when we did. And we're kind of in like the push now to sort of finish the house and get moved in by winter. So it really made sense to get it sort of this year as we're in this final push where there's so much extra little detailed work to do on the interior. And being on site for that is so crucial. So this is really helping us out in the actual finish of the build.
If you follow us on Instagram or Facebook, you may already know that we purchased this RV. And the most commonly asked question that we've been getting is, what about the chickens and what about the garden? So backstory, if you didn't know, we have been living and renting from Alex's mom for several years now, and that's where our chickens and garden are. So the chickens are going to be moving over here in the next 2 weeks. We recently borrowed an electric fence from one of our close homestead friends, so shout out to Robin. Thank you for letting us borrow that. So they will be in an electric fence with an enclosed coop that is locked up at night. The predators are a lot more intense in this area than at the farmhouse. That's because we're in a wooded area. We've seen coyotes, we've seen wild turkeys, which I don't think they would attack a chicken, but we've seen all sorts of things here, raccoons, possums, all of those things.
Fox.
And so it's critical that our coop shuts and locks at night. And so that is our plan. As far as the garden goes, it is going to stay where it is. And I plan to maintain that garden for years to come. It's something that I've put a lot of work and effort into creating and making sure that the soil is really well maintained. And so it's a space that I think adds a lot of beauty to that little tiny area on the property. So I am hoping to kind of switch some of the plants out to be more perennial plants so that maybe Alex's mom can enjoy the garden but not have to do anything to maintain it.
Yeah.
So another great side of having that additional garden space is that we can plant some of the plants that take up a lot more space. So things like melons and squash, those plants like to vine all over the place and take up a ton of space. So maybe we can incorporate some of those over there and then keep some of our other vegetables here that we have to regularly harvest and maintain.
For the chickens, we will probably be transporting their actual pallet coop, which was one of our first YouTube videos ever of building that. Once my trailer frees up, which has got some siding material on it now, I think we're gonna just try to set that whole thing on the trailer with a skid steer and cart it over here. It weighs like probably almost 1,000 pounds, so it's definitely gonna be a project. We'll probably do a whole video on just transporting that thing in itself and setting it up here at the new property, but that should be a fun little adventure.
Yeah, so we still have to figure out how we're gonna get the actual chickens over. I'm not sure if we're gonna just like lock them in the coop and travel with them in the coop, but
oh, that would be great.
We have to figure it out. We are processing our roosters next weekend, so there will be less chickens to transport, and that's kind of been the reason why we've waited to move them over here, because we knew that we were going to be processing a couple of chickens and there would be less in a week or so. So other projects that we're going to have to kind of start sooner rather than later now that we're on the property is we also need to start some type of compost setup. So at the farmhouse, we have a compost bin. It's really not going to be that difficult to create a bin. We could literally just create a pile if we wanted to, but we want to have a dedicated space for compost so we can get that started now and then hopefully have some materials to use in our garden here next year.
Right. The soil here is really rocky and just pretty dead because this was a completely wooded area. The trees really suck all the nutrients out of soil, so there's really no topsoil here at all. There's like a dusting of like decomposed leaves. That's about it for topsoil. So pretty much everything we have to grow here, we're going to have to amend the soil pretty significantly. Even to grow grass, we're going to be bringing in some topsoil to just skim coat the top of it just for soil stabilization purposes. So that will be sort of a years-long effort in developing the health of the soil here and getting something that can grow sustainably.
And one thing that I want to experiment with is not just growing grass, but growing some other things that will benefit some grazing animals. And if we were to go that route in the future and have sheep or any other ruminant, then they would thrive off of whatever we're growing. So we may not actually have just grass in our yard. It very likely will be other things as well.
One last topic before we sign off here is that we found that camper life really isn't that bad. Like a lot of people have the thought that like,
oh my gosh, it's going to be way too small, I could never live in a camper.
But actually now after doing it for several weeks, I get why people do tiny houses and do the camper thing for, you know, multiple years going cross country with it. You really don't need as much space as you think you do as like just two people anyway. Kids might throw a different little wrench in that, but overall, like as long as you have a place to sleep, eat, cook, and shower, there's really not a whole lot else you need to survive. And honestly, when you're in a situation like this, you're usually outside most of the time anyway.
And I think that's like kind of what makes it possible for a lot of people who do choose the lifestyle of RV living, is that they're choosing to take their days and hike outside or explore new areas and explore new places, and they're not sitting inside. And so it makes it more doable. I think if we were stuck in here 24/7, it would be probably pretty terrible. But because our lifestyle is set up to go outside, work on the building, once we have our chickens here, work on that. Like it's been great.
Right. You're just basically in here to eat, sleep, and then we're editing videos, of course, here at this table. But other than that, we're pretty much just not in the camper most of the time. And it just is a really convenient way to get out of the job site dust. I guess we never mentioned that. Like, we could probably survive in the garage with how we have it. We have ability to install a toilet, a sink, not a shower yet, but there's no like place free of dust in there. We would have to like tarp it off, and then that would get in the way of the work, and it would just not really be that effective. So I guess that's probably one of the main reasons we bought this too. We never really mentioned it, but just being away from the job site dust and having a place to shower and cook in a clean space is really, really convenient. Yeah,
it's actually insane the amount of dust that's in there. I will sweep up and within 20 minutes there's more dust on the floor. So there's gonna have to be a deep clean once we're ready to like get moved in there. But it's not even an option for sleeping.
Right, if you've built a house or done any sort of remodeling project, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Hope you enjoyed the tour. Our RV life has been made possible by our outdoor hose connection. So if you haven't checked out our Workwear hose bibs video yet, make sure to check that out.
Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.